How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Welcome to the Blumhouse. This is a series of 4 films from Blumhouse Television and Amazon Studios. These were released during October of 2020. Now, if you guys remember October of 2020, the world was in a pretty crazy place, and a lot of theaters weren't open. I mean, even still now, a lot of theaters aren't open. And whenever I first saw this project, you see it's 4 original Blumhouse films going to Amazon Prime during October. So if you had Amazon Prime, you got 4 exclusive Blumhouse films right in time for Halloween. And I always thought that this was Blumhouse thinking on their feet and trying to find a way to release stuff during a pandemic. But the more I look at it, I think this is probably more just a coincidence. Jason Blum had always talked about finding ways to do TV and finding ways to do streaming. So I think he had probably been working with this, with Amazon Prime on this beforehand. I mean, the biggest giveaway is Evil Eye is based on an Audible original, you know. So I think they were working on this beforehand, and it was just luck on their part that they had a project that didn't require a theatrical release during a time when they really couldn't do a theatrical release. But anyway, these are 4 films. We have Black Box, Evil Eye, The Lie, and Nocturne. And these are all kind of different films. If you know Blumhouse, it's usually haunted house, you know, jump scary movies with, you know, a weird monster with a gimmick to it, you know? These aren't exactly like that. These are a little more experimental, and granted, they're not as spooky type stuff, you know? So they're not super duper Halloween cheesy horror movies. These in general are a little more serious, but overall I do like that they took risk and they thought about doing new things, and you know, they figured out ways to make new and interesting stories during this series. So that being said, let's take a look at them. I'm going to do mini reviews for these movies. No major spoilers, but I do want to say my piece on a few plot points, and I do want you guys to have a basic understanding as to what these movies are about. So let's take a look at the first one. This is Black Box. This is directed by Emmanuel Ose Kafour Jr. and stars Mamu Doarty. I'm very sorry if I'm mispronouncing any of those names, but you get this guy who's recovering from a car accident. He's suffering terrible memory problems. He has a bunch of post-it notes all around his house just to guide him through his day, and he has to figure out how to do, you know, things in his life that he just knew regularly. This is, you know, very bad in a few ways. His daughter he has to take to school, and he keeps getting her there late because, you know, he doesn't remember how to do everything, and he can't quite, you know, work out his schedule. His job also requires artistic ability, and he seems to have lost that skill when he lost a lot of his memory. He gets recommended to a doctor, and this doctor has a pretty cool setup where they use a combination of putting people in a trance as well as giving them a VR headset to make it easier to dive deep into their minds, so you get this cool otherworld thing. But when he's looking through his memories and trying to figure out who he is, he sees a mysterious figure in his head that's going to be haunting him whenever he goes in there, which is, you know, your scary Blumhouse element there. But there's also several things in his memories that just doesn't make sense, and he has to piece together this mystery. And then the mystery is told in this really cool way where you're figuring it out at the same rate the characters are, maybe just a little ahead of them. But you begin to piece things together and go, okay, wait, he remembers that, but the real world's like this. Wait, does that mean that? And you're putting all your pieces together, and it comes out really well. Black Box is, I would have to say, pretty easily the best of these films. It was really fun. Moving on to Evil Eye. This was directed by Elaine and Raji Dizani and stars Sarita Kothari. Sorry again if I mispronounced any of that. This is based on a book of the same name that was an Audible original. Madhuri Shikar was the author of that book. And this is about an Indian woman, a younger woman living in America. Now, she is not finding a boyfriend, and she's getting old enough where her mother, back in India, really wants her to get married. And she keeps trying to set her up on dates and really wants her to get married and settle down. Now, eventually, one of the dates doesn't show up, and she stumbles across this guy. He just happens to be the perfect man for her. He's really nice and charming, and he'll buy her things and help her out, and he's really the perfect guy. But there's something about this guy, the mother just doesn't trust him. And at first you think, oh, it's because it's a guy that the mother didn't pick out, but then you find that the mother has a bit of a tragic backstory, and maybe she has other reasons for being cautious of this guy. Now, this movie, there's a lot of drama in it between characters, and you begin to see what happened to other people. But the thing with this is, at the end, it becomes much more firmly a horror movie than it was before, because before it was a drama with a bit of a horror element. But when it gets into that full horror mode, it does kind of take a bit of a leap into the horror movie, where there's characters that when they go into their horror movie mode, it wasn't as super established earlier. You think, oh, this character thinks and acts this way, there's maybe a hint of the darker side. But rather than putting in enough hints and then building up to this horror movie part, it seems like, all of a sudden we're in a horror movie at the end, which is my biggest criticism. But really, I don't want to dish on this too hard, because I really did enjoy the character drama a lot more than I thought, and it was a pretty good mystery to uncover. Overall, this is still a pretty good one, and you trying to figure out what's going on, and just what exactly is up with the boyfriend, because there's something going on. It's trying to figure all that out, and it's pretty good. It just at the end, when it became a horror movie, kind of jumped a few, to get to that level. But overall, still pretty fun. Up next is The Lie, which is directed by Vinna Sud, and this stars Peter Skarsgård, Muriel Enos, and Joey King. They're these two parents that have separated. The girl is with her dad, and as they're driving home, they see one of the girl's friends at the bus stop. Now, they pull over to the side of the road for a minute. The two girls go to the bridge, and the dad's not there with them. And the one girl, his daughter, comes back without the friend, and she's in a bit of a state of shock. It turns out they had some sort of altercation. She got mad, and without really thinking about what she was doing, pushed her friend off the bridge. Now, the dad doesn't want to be in trouble. He doesn't want his daughter to be in trouble, and he decides to try to cover up his crime. So he goes through all these steps, hoping that no one will find him, but of course a girl is missing here. The police, the girl's father, several people are looking for her, and it's all about trying to, figure out a way to hide the fact that the daughter committed murder, which you've seen a bit of these types of movies before, and it's always, a case of, what would I do? How would I figure out this situation? And granted, the fact that it's the daughter and it was an accident, it makes the main character's pursuits a little more noble. And then plus, you get this cool element with the daughter where she seems a little bit detached from what she did. And you're like, hey, you shouldn't be this happy right now. You just killed somebody. And overall, it's a really cool how would you get away with this murder type scenario. But the thing is with this movie is I can't help but go, okay, she was by the bridge, she accidentally pushed her friend off. The really easy way to get about this is, I mean, it's a snowy day. Just say your friend was sitting on the railing and she slipped and fell in on her own. It's the closest to the truth. It'd be impossible to prove otherwise, and you're off the hook essentially from the beginning. So the fact that there was an easy enough solution at the beginning, and it's just one of those things that I'm like, I should just, ignore that. But, I mean, the fact that you get caught in bigger and bigger lies when you could have told a small lie at the beginning, kept it closer to the truth, I don't know. That's really more a nitpick for me. Overall, it was really fun trying to see them figure out these situations and trying to see them come up with a good plan. It was really, really cool. Now, the ending of this, not everybody's gonna like. I felt it really didn't ruin it, but boy, did it make you think differently about some characters. You're like, oh, that person did this that way. Oh man, that's not a good idea. But some people are really gonna hate the ending. I thought it was kind of interesting. I personally wouldn't have done that ending, but I didn't think it was bad. It just makes you go, oh man, that character. Last one we have is Nocturne, written and directed by Zoo Corky and stars Sydney Sweeney. This is about a girl. She's in music school with her older sister, and her older sister's doing way better than her, and she's just barely keeping up, and she's getting really frustrated. Well, there was a girl before her that killed herself. Apparently it had been too into her music, it got too intense, and she died. Now, the main character finds this girl's music book, and it's full of strange drawings and notes and stuff, and she begins to get pulled into whatever strange world that got the last girl. She's getting sucked into this world and these ideologies as well, and the musical notebook begins to affect her life. And I do like a good haunted book, and a haunted music book is something that I don't think I've seen too often before, so really cool to see this concept. Now, it doesn't take it in as much of a supernatural way as you think. There's not ghosts and creatures popping out everywhere, but there are supernatural elements from the book that do directly influence real life, but don't think this is going to be like Evil Dead or something. This actually is, because it's about the quest for perfection and backstabbing people along the way and getting way too into trying to be perfect and kind of losing yourself to it. These ideas are pretty similar to Darren Aronofsky's Black Swan, which I feel did this concept way better. I kind of feel like if I was maybe more of a music nerd, like maybe if I had gone to music school, I could relate to this a little bit better. Overall, not the best one. I just, it was hard for me to get as invested, and I think it's because I don't know as much about music, and, you kind of get this girl going into it and going off the deep end maybe a little too quickly, where you don't see the character degradation as much. I don't know. I mean, it was there. It's just, there's something about this movie, it's hard to place, that I didn't quite get on board. It just felt like a not as good version of Black Swan, but there was lots of stuff that I liked about it. It just didn't get as rich of a character degradation, and you didn't get quite as many disturbing elements, that I felt they really could have. I'm really not 100% sure why this one doesn't work the best, but I mean, it's still okay, and I do like the haunted music book, and there were some cool elements to it, but Nocturne is probably the weakest one. But overall, they're all pretty good, and like I said, Nocturne's the weakest one, but I think there was something there for each of them, and they're all pretty interesting. If you can only see one, I definitely recommend Black Box. Evil Eye and The Lie are pretty good, and Nocturne, there's something there, maybe I just don't get it. I don't know. But anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You're really helping the channel out. Whenever I cover movies on here, I do like 95% horror movies, so I'm sure that I have something else that you're interested in. I'll put a relevant playlist on the bottom, so maybe you can find something there. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom.